Ray Lewis was one of the best defensive players ever to grace the NFL. He was the guy with the big mouth who earned the big bucks.
He was known as the big bad wolf of the NFL.
From the moment he stepped onto the football field, he was breaking records and he was getting the accolades.
But Ray's high-living, jet-setting celebrity lifestyle ended abruptly when he was accused of a heinous crime, murder. The accusation threatened to destroy his career as a football icon and his life.
The problem for Lewis was he was considered a volatile, really bad boy, which is great for the field. It's not so good when you're up for murder.
Ray Lewis was in serious trouble, not just with the fans, not just with his family, but legally. He could go to jail and lose everything.
Ray Lewis's fate would be decided by a sensational court trial, where a guilty verdict would mean swapping his life in football for a life in prison.
When this first started, I was innocent, and I'm saying it now that I'm innocent.
We have no knife, that is no murder weapon. And the prosecutor's trying to tie this to Ray Lewis. It was a very difficult case.
But there are some indiscretions fans are willing to forgive players for, but when it comes to something like murder, that's career destruction on a whole other level.
To a celebrity, image is everything. And when that image is destroyed, can it be rebuilt? You be the judge. Celebrity Damage Control.
In the 90s, the NFL was filled with superstars. You've got Dan Marino, you've got John Elway, you've got Troy Aikman. These guys are Hall of Fame caliber showmen with multi-million-dollar contracts.
But while quarterbacks normally earn all the accolades, there is one hard-hitting, trash-talking, league-leading linebacker who is giving them a run for their money. Baltimore Ravens hitman Ray Lewis.
Defensive players are kind of looked at as the bad boys on the field, and Ray Lewis definitely fit that bad boy persona.
The man wearing number 52 is a physical phenomenon in every sense. After being drafted in 1996, he rises to become one of the best defensive players in the league. Known for his hugely aggressive playing style, incredible instincts, and his attitude, Ray is the heart of the Ravens as they seek their first ever Super Bowl win. But his superhero image changes. Instead, he becomes infamous overnight for what happens after another Super Bowl game in the year 2000, when an evening's partying leads to violence and ends with Ray charged in a gruesome double murder. The events of that night threaten to shatter the life and reputation of one of the game's most gifted athletes.
The moral dilemma of being a fan of Ray Lewis is, on the one hand, this is someone who's a great football hero, living legend, the best who ever played the position.
All of a sudden, he is a suspect in a heinous crime.
For Ray, the fallout risks more than his career. His life as a free man hangs in the balance. While his dramatic fall from grace is sudden, his rise to prominence as an all-star linebacker is anything but. It was the result of years of hard work and sacrifice. May 15, 1975, Ray Anthony Jenkins is born just outside the city of Lakeland, Florida, in the heart of the Orange State. He is the first child for Albert Jackson and Sinceria Jenkins. Ray initially took on his mother's maiden name, but his father changed it to Jackson.
Ray's parents are really just kids when he's born. Albert, his dad, is only 19. His mom, Sinceria, is 16 years old, and he grows up pretty impoverished.
Ray's journey to football stardom is an uphill struggle from the start. His father is barely around, and the only thing Ray and his father seem to have in common is a love of sport. A gifted athlete himself, Albert held several records at Kathleen High School in Florida in both football and wrestling. Ray has talent in his genes.
Ray admired his dad for being this football hero. Ray wanted to, in many ways, not only do as well as his father, but even better.
But by the time Ray is 6 years old, his father has completely abandoned the family.
Ray has to become the man of the house at a pretty young age. He's the one who's dropping his brother off at daycare. He's the one braiding his sister's hair.
These events take their toll on Ray, who struggles with the disappearance of his father and begins to harbor serious anger and resentment towards him. His mother, Sensiria, soon finds herself taking 3 jobs just to keep the family's head above water. Having to struggle endlessly, Ray could easily have drifted towards a life of crime. But with the strong hand of his mother to guide him, he chooses a different path, joining the very same high school that his father attended. Once there, he channels his anger towards one specific purpose.
This is where Ray not only was upset about his father leaving, but he hated his father, and that was the determination, the motivation, the rocket fuel to not just match his father's records, but to annihilate his father's football records.
To further remove his father from his life, Ray changes his surname to that of a man his mother is now dating. Ray Jackson becomes Ray Lewis.
When Ray decided to drop his last name, his father's last name, and take on the last name of his mother's boyfriend, this was a clear message to his father that not only did he disown him in the way that his father disowned Ray. After this incredible success, what he has to say to his father? Screw you, stay out of my life. I made it despite of you. I made it because of you.
Ray lets nothing stand in the way of his goal, not even his own physical attributes. Considered too small to make an impact on the field, Ray makes up for his size with extreme physical aggression and an understanding of the game that is beyond his years. Ray's talent on the football field grows year after year. After helping his high school win the city and district championships, he now has a shot at a college scholarship. And with that, a way out of the poverty-stricken life he and his family have endured.
This is a classic American dream rags to riches story. Working class kid, rejected by his father, works his butt off the only way he knows how, which is football.
Driven and determined, Ray develops into a formidable athlete who fears no one. Having impressed several scouts, Ray fields offers. Opting to stay local, in 1992 he enrolls at the University of Miami with a full scholarship.
For someone like Ray Lewis, the only way out of a life of drudgery and minimum wage jobs is to go to college and get a scholarship. And from there, the golden ticket is the NFL. They really want that, but you have to earn it.
Ray's hot streak continues at Miami. In just his first season, he makes over 80 tackles and is named to the freshman All-American team. Barely out of high school, he is already ranked as one of the best defensive players in college football. But while Ray is making headlines on the field, his life off it is about to take an unexpected turn. In the fall of 1994, the start of his sophomore year, he meets Tatiana McCall, a Miami University freshman. A highly charged romance results in McCall becoming pregnant with Ray's child.
This clearly wasn't planned. There is a lot of pressure on Lewis because he's one of Miami's star players, and I'm gonna guess that this isn't how he wanted to become a father.
With both Ray and McCall having only recently become adults themselves, their situation bears a striking resemblance to Ray's own childhood.
This mirrors what happened with his father, having children at a very young age. As much as Ray despised his dad, here he saw himself doing some of the very same things.
But all is not well with the young lovers. According to witnesses, during a very public argument while McCall is still pregnant with their child, Ray hits McCall and is seen placing his hands around her neck.
Luckily for Lewis, McCall doesn't press any charges, but this is not gonna do good things for his reputation. It's one thing to be a rough guy out on the field, but if you get rough with your pregnant girlfriend, Rumor has it that he likes to party. He likes the company of women. He's a bit of a show-off. For star athletes in the spotlight, this is pretty standard stuff, but for people who can't handle it, it's a recipe for disaster.
It's not long before McCall learns of another woman in Ray's life, whom he apparently has been dating since the fall of 1994. And trouble again finds Ray when a confrontation ensues, this time between the two women in a campus parking lot. McCall accuses the other woman of damaging her car, which she denies. When McCall leaves and returns with Ray, he allegedly grabs the woman by the shoulder and shakes her. Miami University campus PD are called, but once again, no charges are filed.
There is an anger, whether that anger is from his dad, whether it's from being too aggressive on the field and not being able to turn it off. This is a danger zone for Ray that he is going to have to deal with in the next couple of years, and that's really going to put him in a very difficult spot.
In 1995, Miami University star linebacker Ray Lewis has the world at his feet, but he narrowly avoids assault charges after a public scuffle with two girlfriends on campus. As a result of the incident, Ray's relationship ends with one of the women, but the other, Tatiana McCall, continues as his on-again, off-again girlfriend for several years to come. Yet, no matter how disruptive his personal life gets, on the field, the hits just keep on coming. In 1995, his third season at Miami, Ray has yet another amazing year, which ends with him listed 5th in the university's all-time tackle list and with another All-American nomination. Although he still has a final year of college left, Ray decides he's ready for the big time. He opts out of his senior year at Miami and declares himself eligible for the 1996 NFL Draft. Potential suitors clamor to sign him, giving little thought to his personal baggage. For the Baltimore Ravens, Ray's decision to enter the draft that year is perfect timing. As an NFL expansion team, 96 is their first year in the league. To make an impact, they need a marquee player that can inspire them to greatness. And in Ray Lewis, they find their man. The Baltimore Ravens make him a first-round pick, signing him to a $5 million contract.
Lewis is living the dream. He says that when he gets to the NFL, he tells his mom, you're not gonna have to work another day in your life. And he definitely follows through on that.
The Ravens' early years in the NFL aren't a huge success. Struggling to find their feet, they suffer a number of consecutive losing seasons. As for Ray, any concerns over his size are dismissed in his first season, when he makes 110 tackles and is named to USA Today's All-Rookie Team.
As we've seen with many of the phenoms from college, they're not always successful. Sometimes it takes a long time for them to make it in the NFL, to find their legs on the field. But with Ray Lewis, it was different. From the moment he stepped onto the football field, he was breaking records, he was the best at his position, and he was getting the accolades.
His second season in 97 proves even better as he sets a career high for the most tackles in a season with an amazing 184 hits and is named to the Pro Bowl for the first time. Ray is fast becoming one of the most feared defensive players in the game, not to mention one of the loudest.
Lewis was not a wallflower. This guy would yell at people and berate people on the field. He would get them agitated. He was known as the big bad wolf of the NFL.
His bad boy image is shaping the team's image as well as these newcomers who fear no one.
As the Ravens start to improve, it's thanks largely to an increasingly difficult-to-beat defensive unit led by Ray. In 1998, he hits the big time, signing a new contract with the Ravens worth a reported $26 million, making him the league's highest-paid player in his position. And Ray, the down-and-out boy from Central Florida, is taking advantage of his success. As hard as he plays on the field, he plays just as hard off of it.
NFL clubs actually run two kinds of defensive teams, one on the field and one off the field. The one off the field is the one that is really the hardest to rein in. Here you've got a bunch of guys. They have a hard time with the women they date. They have a hard time in public. They're belligerent and they're absolutely wild. The PR team has to come in and keep that out of the paper and keep their images squeaky clean so that their fan base won't leave. And that's a really tough job, to rein in these wild men that are making millions of dollars and are idolized by everybody.
Tatiana McCall, now pregnant with Ray's second child, takes him to court for child support in 1997. And in January 1998, Ray is ordered to pay McCall $3,800 a month in support for both children. Also in 1998, another woman files a paternity suit claiming her daughter belongs to Ray. It's later settled in court, and Ray pays $2,700 a month in support, including back pay amounting to more than $29,000.
In total, Ray Lewis has 6 children by 4 different women. Clearly, he's a popular guy.
Luckily, Ray now has the wealth to support his ever-growing family. He also has fame and the kind of lifestyle his old friends in Lakeland, Florida could only dream of. But just as he's hitting his stride, his off-field lapses in judgment become an issue once again. In 1999, apparently after watching a game at the Woodland Tavern in Baltimore, it's alleged that Ray gets into a scuffle with 2 women, hitting one of them in the face as he and a friend are leaving the bar. Ray again faces a possible conviction for assault. Incredibly, Baltimore County prosecutors drop the case when they find too many discrepancies with the evidence.
When the facts come out, the woman alleges that a 5'5" male attacked her. Ray Lewis is, to his credit, a monster. He is a 6'1" linebacker for the NFL, weighing at least 240 pounds. There's clearly a mistaken identity here if, in fact, she was attacked by someone 5'5".
No matter how complicated his private life gets, it seems to have no bearing on his play. The '99 season sees him once again lead the NFL in tackles, as he's voted Linebacker of the Year by former NFL alumni. But as the new millennium draws closer, one major prize still eludes him.
It is every American football player's dream to get to the NFL. And when they get there, it's to get to the Super Bowl. Lewis and the Ravens, they're getting better, but they haven't kind of found that winning formula that's going to take them all the way.
The '99 season is the Ravens' best to date, but they still go 8-8 and fail to make the playoffs, meaning Ray will once again be just another spectator at the season's Super Bowl. The 2000 Super Bowl takes place in Atlanta in late January. Rather than stay at home, Ray flies to Atlanta to watch the game and party with friends, booking himself into a plush downtown hotel. Ray isn't in Atlanta to play. He's there to party, and he makes a big impression. Dressed in a black and cream-colored suit with a full-length mink coat, and what someone will later describe as wearing enough rock to break the bank. Having hired a luxury limo, he's living large and spending big.
After the game, Lewis and his friends decide to head out for a night on the town. And that is when the wheels come off the Ray Lewis juggernaut.
The night of partying leads him to a high-end bar called the Cobalt Lounge in Atlanta's nightclub district. Although Ray is engaged to his on-again, off-again girlfriend of 6 years, Tatiana McCall, by all accounts, his date for the evening is someone else, a woman he met at another party a few nights earlier.
Ray Lewis is not atypical in the fact that he played around. He played on the field and he played off the field. The reason it's not atypical is when we look at professional athletes, they're treated as gods. Women are constantly throwing themselves at these individuals, and we as the public look the other way, especially if that athlete is successful on the field.
The large entourage partying with Ray that night also includes 2 friends, Reginald Oakley and Joseph Sweeting.
It's hard to say how close he was to these guys. Apparently, he may have known them for a couple of years, but celebs surrounding themselves with people who might not have their best interests at heart? Never heard that one before.
Both men are well known to police. Between them, Oakley and Sweeting have extensive criminal records, including convictions for theft, burglary, and resisting arrest. They live the type of lifestyle Ray himself has managed to avoid through football.
So here we have what I would call a recipe for disaster. We have a late night of drinking. He was with 2 other individuals, and one of them actually brings along knives. So it looked like something really, really damning could happen that evening.
And something really damning is about to happen, and it will impact Ray's future and life. Following one evening's catastrophic events, Ray will need to seek long-term damage control.
The trajectory his career was on, this guy was just amazing, and nobody could have ever imagined what he was doing in his personal life or predicted that he would soon be arrested for one of the worst crimes possible.
January 2000, the night of Super Bowl 34 in Atlanta, Georgia. Ray Lewis is out on the town with an entourage that includes 2 friends, Reginald Oakley and Joseph Sweeting, both of whom have extensive criminal records. They are at the Cobalt Lounge in Atlanta's nightclub district. The facts of what happens next are sketchy at best. According to witnesses, Ray and his entourage leave the nightclub in the early hours of the morning. Once outside, they get into an aggressive exchange with another group of partygoers, which spins violently out of control. Moments later, two men from the other group are lying on the ground bleeding, as Ray and his friends pile into his limousine and flee. The two wounded men are Richard Lawler and Jacinth Baker. Lawler has been stabbed in the heart, chest, and abdomen. Baker has been stabbed in the heart and liver. Both men die before making it to the hospital. Minutes after Ray's limousine drives away, the police arrive on the scene, and their investigation quickly points in his direction. Ray is arrested later that day, held for questioning, and charged with murder and aggravated assault, along with his friends Oakley and Sweeting. The story breaks almost immediately, and soon everyone is asking, did Ray Lewis just commit two murders?
Now, this was a situation where Ray Lewis was in serious trouble, not just with the fans, not just with his family, but legally. He could go to jail and lose everything.
While his aggressive style of football does little to help his image, it's his off-field behavior and previous allegations of assault that now threaten to make a bad situation even worse.
When anyone thinks of Ray Lewis, they think of a linebacker who will do anything to hit you and harm you and hurt you. And that is something which he has to overcome in a trial, because he was accused here of harming individuals, just like he generally does without a knife on the football field. So in this instance, it's a higher obstacle, a higher burden for him to overcome because of what people know about him.
Ray's case also isn't helped by the actions of Oakley and Sweeting, who wait several days before giving themselves up to police. In the eyes of the press, perception is everything, and the pair's actions do little to convince anyone of their or Ray's innocence. While the football community is in shock, those closer to Ray are in total disbelief, in particular, his fans.
Ravens fans adore him. He's an absolute favorite. But there are some indiscretions fans are willing to forgive players for. But when it comes to something like murder charges, I mean, that's career destruction on a whole other level.
The Ravens have the option of firing him on the spot, but instead choose to stand by their man, with Ravens owner Art Medell even testifying in support of Ray's good character at his bail hearing. But the charge of murder is difficult for even the most talented PR teams to spin, and the Ravens' confidence in their star player does little to protect him from what follows. After spending 2 weeks in jail, Ray is released on a $1 million bond on February 15th. He's instructed to remain in Maryland. 2 days later, Ray and his PR team begin damage control by having Ray read a statement. He says he is sorry about the tragedy that occurred in Atlanta, but, quote, "I am innocent." The woman with Ray that fateful evening is given immunity by the prosecutors in exchange for her testimony. She claims she did not see Ray hit nor stab the men. The trial date is set for May, giving police 3 months to fully investigate the crime, and time enough for the American press to build a media frenzy.
When Lewis was arrested, there was 24/7 press coverage. The press decided that they wanted to get to the bottom of this and find out what really happened and whether or not he was guilty. When you have this on the news all the time, the person looks pretty guilty. There is an assumption of guilt, because they wouldn't be talking about his potential sentence and the potential defense and what the prosecution is going to say unless they had something there. So the press was trying him in the public eye, and they were finding him guilty. The problem for Lewis was he was considered a volatile, really bad boy, which is great for the field. It's not so good when you're up for murder. So he was being tried in the public, and his image and his reputation were really going to have a say in what his verdict would be.
But a bit of luck comes Ray's way 2 months before the upcoming case. Prosecutors in Baltimore County drop assault charges against Ray, relating to the incident from November 30th, 1999, involving women at a bar. But everything hinges on Ray's court case, which begins May 15th, 2000. Ray, Reginald Oakley, and Joseph Sweeting stand trial, the day of Ray's 25th birthday.
Cameras are allowed in the courtroom, so the trial is seen on live TV. This only intensifies the media scrutiny that Lewis is under.
The prosecution begins by questioning witnesses present on the night of the murders. Later, Ray's limo driver, Dwayne Facette, takes the stand.
In this instance, the driver, Ray Lewis's actual limo driver, told the investigators he saw the fight. That is, he actually saw from afar that there was a fight going on. And when they got back in the limo, heard one of the individuals tell the other that he stabbed someone. So you have very, very strong evidence here, according to the investigators and the prosecutors, to be able to convict if not all, of the defendants.
Incredibly, while on the stand, Facette fails to confirm any of these details in court, claiming to suffer from lapses in memory and hearing difficulties.
The prosecutors, one of their only choices is to essentially ask the witness, well, you said something different the last time, and now you're saying this. But it's a no-win for the prosecutor. Either the witness was lying then and not lying now, in which case he's a liar because the testimony was diametrically opposed, or the witness under oath with the jury present, with the judge there, is telling the truth now, in which case it harms the prosecutor. So once that happens, there's not much you can do.
Facette does, however, admit to hearing Ray tell people in the limo not to talk to the police as they drove away from the scene, meaning he intentionally obstructed justice after the attack.
Another witness claims she overheard Lewis say, "This is not how my career is going to end." It's becoming really clear, guilty or innocent, the fallout could be huge.
The prosecution's remaining witnesses are unable to give a clear account of the night's events. Some claim they were too drunk to remember anything. Another witness says they saw a man shooting at the limo as it drove away, but is also unable to identify Ray in the fight.
One witness does claim to have seen Lewis involved in the fight, but his credibility is called into question when it's revealed he's a con artist. Really, the whole trial is turning into a hot mess.
NFL star Ray Lewis has been tearing up the field as one of the hottest stars in the NFL. But with the 21st century just weeks old, his life has quickly become the stuff of nightmares. Arrested and charged with the January 2000 murder of Robert Lawler and Jason Baker, Ray is now in court fighting for his future. But witnesses appear to be having memory issues.
And let's not forget, the burden of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt. So if, as the witnesses start testifying, there is doubt as to whether the driver was telling the truth now or then. There is doubt as to whether Ray Lewis tried to bring them back into the car and get them out of the fight. There's doubt whether or not Ray Lewis had a knife. All of that becomes very, very frustrating to the prosecutor because he thought he had this wrapped package of a case and it all unravels in front of the jury.
Crucially for Ray, the judge also rules that previous allegations and charges of assault involving his current and former girlfriends cannot be used as evidence by the prosecution during the trial.
If it was admissible in court that Ray Lewis was actually involved in domestic violence with some women in his life, then who knows? Maybe the jury would have been swayed into knowing who this person really was and the fact that he was capable of violence.
But the prosecution isn't done yet. The physical evidence from that night provides them with another chance to pin him to the crime.
Police crime scene technicians say that they find blood in the limo that matches that of one of the victims. So this suggests that someone in the limo was involved in the fight, but doesn't identify who it is.
That question could be answered by yet another key piece of evidence missing from the prosecution's case: the distinctive black and cream-colored suit Ray was wearing on the night in question. Prosecutors and police believe it may be covered in the victim's blood, but Ray claims not to have remembered what happened to it. Although some witnesses say a bag was dumped at a fast food restaurant in those early morning hours.
And Ray Lewis is really not involved. There's no evidence to nail him to that crime at that time. And that suit, the loss of the suit, is very helpful to Ray Lewis.
In the public's opinion and in the press, you don't hide evidence if you're not guilty. So the assumption was he was guilty. If he didn't do it, why isn't he producing that suit? Why did he throw it away? Where was it?
What the prosecution is also missing is the knife or knives used to stab the two men, bearing traces of blood or DNA that can pin Ray to the crime. Though a knife was found at the scene, forensic tests show that there are no blood or fingerprints to tie any of the defendants to it as the murder weapon.
So let's just say the case is not going well for the prosecution. You don't have DNA, you don't have blood evidence, you don't have anyone figuring out the spattering of where the blood went. We have a witness whose testimony is different than his explanation to the police. We have no suit, no clothes, no hard evidence. We have no knife, that is no murder weapon. And the prosecutor's trying to tie this to Ray Lewis. It was a very, very difficult case.
With no hard evidence connecting Ray to the crime, prosecutors offer him a plea bargain, which he accepts. In return for dropping the murder and assault charges, he must testify against Sweeting and Oakley. He must also plead guilty to obstruction of justice for telling people in the limousine not to talk to the police.
Ray Lewis here, if he made one mistake, it was that he got in the car and got out of there after the incident. It's almost a la O.J. Simpson. Leaving the scene of a crime creates an aura of culpability.
What does this all mean? It means that he's willing to plead guilty to a minor charge if it means avoiding prison time, and it totally does.
But not everyone is happy with the decision, least of all the family and friends of the two victims, who believe Ray knows much more than he has admitted so far. Now they get to hear his side of the story in full. Ray's testimony paints a very different picture than the one the prosecutors had tried to create. He states under oath that rather than being the aggressor, he was in fact the peacemaker in the argument, and that Oakley and Sweeting were the two men involved in the fight that ended with Lawler and Baker losing their lives. But Ray isn't done yet.
Lewis testifies that he knew Oakley and Sweeting had purchased knives at the sporting goods store the day before the fight. Crucially, though, he says that he didn't see either men use those knives.
The end result was pretty obvious. Because the prosecutor's case just continued to come apart, that prosecutor was unable to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Lewis or his co-defendants actually committed the crime. So the result was an acquittal for each and every one of those defendants, notwithstanding the fact that we had a double homicide.
To the surprise of many observers, the trial ends with all three defendants walking away as free men. But ironically, because Ray took a plea bargain of guilty of obstruction of justice in exchange for his testimony against his friends, he's the only one not acquitted. Oakley and Sweeting are acquitted of all charges. It's rumored that several jury members publicly state they wanted to vote for a guilty verdict. But under the strict rules laid down by the court, there wasn't enough direct evidence to convict the men.
From the beginning, when this first started, I was innocent, and I'm saying it now that I'm innocent. I never did anything. I was nothing in this whole case but a witness.
The verdict was a huge relief for Lewis, but his reputation is still in tatters. People still believe he did it. Accusations are still flying, and he's in danger because of his volatile temper. He's in danger of flying off the handle, which is the absolute worst thing he could do at this point. He had to keep his cool and keep under control no matter what people were saying about him.
The ordeal is not over yet for Ray. After the criminal trial clears him of murder, he is sued by the families of the victims in civil actions for a total of $23 million. But the outcome of the civil suit only serves to deepen the mystery, with both families agreeing to an undisclosed and confidential out-of-court settlement that they're barred from discussing or revealing.
In the eyes of many, when he gave money to the victims' families, everybody thinks he bought their silence, which he might have. But PR-wise, this is a really good move because as long as they're out there talking and dissing him and accusing him, it just keeps adding fuel to the fire. And the scandal is just never going to go away.
With all three men acquitted of murder charges, the truth of what happened that night is still shrouded in mystery.
Really, these murders still have not been solved. It's been terrible for the victims' families, and for Lewis, it means that he'll have this hanging over his head for as long as he's alive.
In addition to the victim payout, Ray is fined $250,000 by the National Football League for bringing the game into disrepute, based on his guilty plea to the charge of obstructing justice in a murder investigation. He is put on a 1-year probation. But the NFL opts against banning him from the field, and despite the uproar, the Baltimore Ravens continue to stand by their man. The challenge Ray now faces is winning back the support of the fans, No one is sure how the public will greet him upon his return to the field.
For some of his fans, what I think happened was perhaps they rationalized their feelings about him. Well, he could be rehabilitated. Well, he wasn't found guilty. As a matter of fact, no one was found guilty. So you're innocent until proven guilty. And I think for some other fans, perhaps they really did smell the coffee and realized that at that point in his life, Ray Lewis was trouble, and maybe he wasn't the right person to be betting on as far as hero worship.
As Ray suits up for the 2000 NFL season, many believe his reputation will never recover from the months of speculation and accusations. While others remain fixed in their belief that despite what the court says, Ray Lewis got away with murder.
At this point in his life, even though he was not found guilty of anything, nothing was hung on him, Ray Lewis was in trouble with the fans, he was in trouble with America, he was in trouble with the people that he had endorsements with because of his image of violence.
After the dust has settled, Ray Lewis immediately goes about reconstructing his public image. He hires an off-duty officer to accompany him to public engagements, resolving to avoid situations in which conflict might arise.
On the one hand, it shows, look at how straight I am, look at how I am following the straight and narrow. I've got police officers with me. Others think it's because he's afraid that people still think he's guilty and that they will come after him in retaliation. And then the other school of thought, there are actually three here, is that his publicity team thinks that with the police officers by his side, he's less likely to lash out at anybody that says something bad to him.
Less than 4 months after Ray Lewis is acquitted of murder, the star athlete is back to doing what he does best, making crunching tackles and taking out quarterbacks for the Baltimore Ravens.
Even though he's found innocent, even though he had the backing of the Ravens coaches and owners, his public reputation has taken a huge hit. Now it's time to prove himself on the field, otherwise this is going to be the only thing people are going to remember him for.
Right now, Ray Lewis's main focus is his football career. Can he get the NFL and the world to forget the scandal so he can get on with his life? No matter what, Ray has a lot of work ahead to reconstruct his tainted image. Only months after being acquitted of murder, Baltimore Ravens linebacker Ray Lewis is back on the field. But he knows it isn't only his career that needs resurrection.
He knew that he had to turn his life around, that it had to be more than just a surface effort, but one of completely re-examining who he was. And Ray did that by getting involved in religion, by becoming a more moral and ethical person.
Ray publicly renews his commitment to his Christian faith, often referencing how God saved him from prison in his media interviews.
It's very common for people that get stuck in really bad positions, prison, adulterers, whatever, to come out and say, I found Jesus. And whether or not it's heartfelt, whether or not it's real, is between him and his maker.
Ray also focuses on charity work. He forms a foundation called Ray Lewis 52, which provides financial help to disadvantaged youth and pays for Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners for underprivileged Baltimore families. But in the end, nothing wins people over like success. And it's on the field that Ray finds the redemption he's looking for.
Lewis has proclaimed his innocence all along and has maintained that he was a scapegoat for what really happened. But he takes all that negative talk and channels it out onto the field. He goes back to what he's good at, which is playing outstanding football.
In the year 2000, Ray Lewis has what many believe is the best season by a defensive linebacker in the history of the game. With Ray once again leading the tackle count, his team sets a new record for the fewest points conceded in a single season and is named the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year. Despite the potentially negative publicity backlash, he is once again selected to the Pro Bowl.
He's back doing what he's good at, and he's won over the fans, especially the people of Baltimore. It helps that he had the backing of the Ravens coach and the owner.
Ray's redemption from sinner to savior in the eyes of his fans is made complete when the Ravens win that season's Super Bowl, and he is named the game's most valuable player, almost a year to the day from the now infamous fight outside an Atlanta nightclub.
You can't make this stuff up. In 1 year, he has gone from being a murder suspect to a Super Bowl champion. Ray Lewis is a very likable guy, but I don't think all American football fans have forgotten about the incidents of 2000. People don't just forget just because you win another Super Bowl.
Winning the Super Bowl and going to the Pro Bowl many times, he knew at this point he had to get it right, he had to be perfect, and he pulled it off. He did it.
In 2002, he signs a new 7-year, $50 million contract with the Ravens, but that's just the start. Ray signs deals with Visa, Reebok, Old Spice, and Pepsi, to name a few.
You know, I've done a bunch of commercials since, 2000. It's just a bunch of fun. You know, I kind of treat the camera just like game day. You know, somebody's always watching you. There's always something that you can share, you know, in some type of acting, you know, or even if it's real, there's something that has to be real about it. And that's what impresses me about acting so much.
Often players lose sponsors when they go through scandals, but surprisingly, Ray increases his endorsements.
The question begs to be asked, is all of the sponsorship attention because of all the publicity he got for his trial, or because he was MVP for the Super Bowl?
He'll probably end up in the NFL Hall of Fame, but he'll always be haunted by that image of violence.
Lewis continues to earn praise for the rest of his professional career, respected by both his teammates and the opposition. He finally retires from the game in 2013, but not before leading the Ravens to a second Super Bowl title that same year. To Baltimore fans, he's more than just a great linebacker. He's a living legend.
At Baltimore's final home game, just weeks before they won the Super Bowl, fans were crying knowing that Lewis was not going to be playing next season. You know, it just shows how much they really loved him.
1 month after his Super Bowl win, Ray joins ESPN as a football analyst on their Sunday and Monday night shows. He also continues to appear on TV in commercials and do motivational talks. And while he's never married Tatiana or any of the mothers of his 6 children, he's remained close to all of them, never forgetting the anguish of growing up without a father. Ray Lewis III, Ray's first child with Tatiana, is following in his father's footsteps, playing ball with the University of Miami for 2 years until 2015. Meanwhile, Ray reconciles with the man who abandoned him when he was just 6 years old, and in doing so closes another chapter in his incredible story of struggle and redemption. But while Ray has done a good job putting the tragic events of 2000 behind him, winning back scores of fans in the process, it may not be as easy for others to forgive and forget.
Ray Lewis's name will always be tainted by the accusations of a double homicide. Yes, he's a phenomenal NFLer. He's made a tremendous amount of money. He's won the Super Bowl. He was MVP at the Super Bowl. But whenever you hear the words Ray Lewis, it makes you wonder what really happened outside of that bar on that evening where 2 men died.
People react differently to the Ray Lewis story, but he is unquestionably one of the best players in the NFL. And for Baltimore, he has given them 2 reasons to smile, and they will always love him for it.